Welcome to Jesus Changes Everything, a daily podcast dedicated to providing a fresh look at the ancient and glorious truth that Jesus not only reigns, but is busy about the business of bringing all things under subjection, that celebrates the wonder and the glory that he has been given all authority in heaven and on earth. I don't know precisely how nicknames come to pass. Well, I suspect a lot of them happen when a child is unable to properly pronounce a particular name, and that mispronounced name sticks. But there are others that are just as clear as names, actual words. And I don't know how people get those connected to their names. I wish I did, because I'd like a nickname. I've actually had one picked out. I've always wanted to be Rocky. Part of that is because of my initials, RC. It's sort of close to Rocky. And of course, part of it is because Rocky's such a great guy. But never happened, and you can't really force these things, can you? You can't go around insisting, hey, call me Rocky. That said, one of the reasons why I wanted a nickname all these years is because, I don't know, they just provide a certain level of charm. And so for today's Forever Friends, I thought it would be fitting to just sort of recall some of the nicknames of some of the folks that I grew up with. Now, two of these folks I've already covered in an earlier Forever Friends, and that is my friend Peach Emmert and Beef Burns. These were classmates of mine and teammates of mine in various and sundry sports, and just really good guys. But those were not the only two guys who had nicknames in my circle. One of our teammates on the Little League team that we were on, me and Peach and Beef, was also a young fellow named Monkey Ulrey, and I can see where that came from. He had some features that were somewhat like a monkey. There were, in the broader community, lots more nicknames I can recall that other people had. There was Critter, Sheedy, who was a friend as well from 4th through 9th grade. Then there was, let's see, who else did we have? Oh, we had Ripper Freeman, and I have a suspicion about where he probably got that nickname, but I don't think I want to unpack it too well. Ripper Freeman, Meatball Simon. Meatball Simon was like Ripper Freeman, was just a year or two older than me, and unfortunately died a very young death. And then there was Beaver Clark, who's also a year or so ahead of me. That's just a few of the guys that I could remember. I just, being in a community where enough people know enough of the other people to know these nicknames and to use these nicknames, I think it provides a level of familiarity. You know, not long ago, I reached out to my friend Ted Bell. Ted has been one of the Forever Friends that I dealt with very early on, and that I was able to get that recollection to him. And not too long ago, I did another one on Eddie Golden. Not a nickname, but Eddie Golden was his real name. And I wanted to see if I could track Eddie down so that he could enjoy listening to it. And I unfortunately I failed that time, but I went to Ted on Facebook to see and said, hey, can you track down Eddie Golden? Do you know anything about where he is or how I might reach him? And while I was looking at his Facebook page, I happened to look at his list of friends to see if Eddie Golden was there. And I literally saw 100 names that I remembered from growing up. And I sent a message. I said, Ted, do you realize Do you realize that you were the glue of our little subculture, our little band of a micro generation, if you will, in this little part of Ligonier, Pennsylvania, and its surroundings? That's what you were, and that's what you still are. And again, it's because you're such a nice guy. So what I'm trying to get is there's something corporate and positive about these kinds of relationships that I think pops up and out at us when we have nicknames. I should have included at least some girl nicknames. There was Punkin Snyder. And Punkin was a good girls basketball player, and she lived in the upstairs part of a local funeral home because her family was in the funeral home business. Punkin Snyder. Bunny there was a girl named Bunny that I knew in college as well. It's just something encouraging, something unifying of other people having nicknames. Maybe you got to earn one, and maybe I never will, but maybe, I don't know, maybe this will be the start of something. So, once again, let me encourage you, as always, to track down some old friends, see if you can find them, and just speak a good word into their life. Just tell them, hey, I don't know where you are, I don't know what's going on in your life right now, but I want you to know that I'm grateful that God put you in my life at the time that he did. And as always, I'm asking if you would be willing to bring some feedback and let me know how that goes. The fall of Adam and Eve is one of the stickiest theological wickets we encounter in the Bible. How could both of them, whom God himself had declared good, do bad? But there is a stickier wicket still, perhaps made so by the fact that it's not in the Bible. For an event of such cosmic proportions, the Bible is surprisingly silent. How did Lucifer, the angel of light, come to be the serpent, the father of lies? Some suggest that it was pride that got in his way, that he aspired to the very throne of God, and when he could not have it, he was cast down. Along a similar note, some suggest it was his pride, but that it was being lower on the chain that tripped him up. That is, it wasn't that he wanted to be God, but that he refused to serve man. Some suggest that he balked when God revealed his plan, including the call of the angels to serve man. Man, after all, was made lower than the angels. Why should the greater serve the lesser? It seems it was the devil himself who first determined it's better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. If the latter theory is the right one, we know who was the first to confuse ontology and economy, being and doing. But he was by no means the last. There is something in all of us that makes it seem somehow not right for the greater to serve the lesser. That something is pride. The modern feminist movement, whether secular or evangelical, suffers from the same sort of pride. The rejection of the plainly biblical affirmation that wives are to submit to their husbands, Ephesians 5:22, is driven by this objection. How can I be equal to my husband if I'm called to submit to my husband? Equals do not submit to one another, the reasoning goes. They're equal. Sadly, too often husbands reason the same way. They also see the plain teaching of Ephesians and conclude that since their wives are called to submit to them, that they as husbands are the superior being, that they are imbued with greater dignity and worth. That foolishness also feeds the foolishness of the feminist movement. Egalitarianism in all its forms flows out of the same notion. We are a culture that is fast losing any sense of manners, indeed any sense of honor. We seem to believe that showing respect to another is a denial of the equality of men. Worse still, we seem to go out of our way to show disrespect, that we might prove our own equality. Or we go out of our way to push away the respect directed toward us. While Lisa and I want our boys to address adults as sir and ma'am, too many sirs and ma'ams are teaching them not to, asking, "Oh, please don't call me that. It makes me feel old." I suppose if growing older doesn't bring with it a greater level of respect, then I can understand why so few people want to grow old. Of course, some older folks are foolish. On their merits, respect is the last thing they would deserve. In like manner, some husbands are buffoons. But without exception, every older person is an older person. And every husband is a husband. Role relationships do not exist in a way that perfectly mirrors objective qualities. The race doesn't always go to the swift. Every soldier knows that not every superior officer is actually superior. But every soldier is taught to, quote, salute the uniform. Honor is due to the office, even when not due to the man in the office. If we would dispel the destruction of honor in our own day, we would do well to start by dispelling the myth that to serve is to be less, and to be served is to be greater. There is no greater argument against such folly than God. One of the benefits of a careful study of the covenant of redemption is that it makes this very point. God the Father not only does the work of electing a bride for the Son, but he does the job of making the assignments. With respect to the persons of the Trinity, he's in charge. The Son, we confess, proceeds from the Father. The Spirit, we confess, proceeds from the Father and the Son. But we also confess this, that these three are one God, the same in substance, equal in power and glory. That's from the Westminster Shorter Catechism, question 6. The Son does not proceed from the Father because the Father is smarter than the Son. They, along with the Spirit, know all things. They are all equally omniscient. Neither is it because the Father is stronger than the Son. Each of the members of the Trinity are equally omnipotent. With respect to their ontology or their being, each member is the equal of the others. But with respect to their work, there is genuine submission. If the feminists are correct, that submission means inequality of being, then the Unitarians are also right. There can be no Trinity. If, then, these roles are not determined by ability, by what are they determined? Both the covenant of redemption and the covenant family operate the way they do because such is what manifests the glory of God. For the dance to proceed, one must lead and others must follow. Anything else may seem more fair, but it won't seem like a dance. And that, more than anything else, was what enraged the devil. You've been listening to the Jesus Changes Everything podcast, a production of Dunamis Fellowship, the teaching outreach of Dr. R.C. Sproul Jr. If you've enjoyed this podcast, we encourage you to subscribe, which you can do at all the usual outlets, to tell your friends, and to spread the word. To learn more about the work of Dunamis Fellowship, please visit rcsproulJR.com. And join us next time on Jesus Changes Everything.